Welcome to the Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. It is your host, Asif Ali, joined by co-host of the most, Sulman Haque, and we are here on a victory Monday after NFL Week 1, Monday Night Football. The 49ers have defeated the New York Jets 32-19. Jordan Mason had a breakout game with 147 yards and a touchdown for basically solidifying, the point that, the Niners are loaded at running back, and, basically that zone running scheme can accomplish everything. Accomplish anything, My question about this guy right here was answered. He was a leading tackle yesterday. For those who watch yesterday's episode, I basically put a challenge out to the defense because when you fire Steve Wilks, you basically have to come out and show out, and Sorensen definitely did that. So I was going to put it to you, Samana. What stood out from you from yesterday? And, talk to me about that.
Yeah, man. I think the Niners look kind of rusty, actually.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like Ayuk. Give us Ayuk, man. You got to cut 10 million off that contract for all those drop balls in that one game. Dude was walking around like he was having an asthma attack. Like he was out of shape. He wasn't catching balls. Like, I don't know, man. Give back 10 million on that contract, bro. Should have reported back. Should have came back in August, though. Right? Yeah. Like Ayuk was rusty, obviously. Trent a little bit, out of he went out of the game for like a little bit. I think he was fatigued a little bit, out of shape. So yeah. So I think obviously the guys that were holding out looked rusty, but I think the Niners offense didn't really miss too much. And the defense honestly looked better under Nick Sorensen than it ever did under Steve Wilks. Right? Like Bosa was like those guys are getting there, and the Jets offensive line is pretty good, right? Like they added Tyrone Smith, they added what's his name, Morgan Moses, right? So they added these guys, they solidified their line. They're pretty solid line. So the fact that you were watching Leonard Floyd and Bosa and all these guys getting after it, and like Rodgers looked uncomfortable, and he was the only time he's making plays was when he was getting them out in under like a second. Like he was like literally stepping back, diming them to like Garrett Wilson or Alan Lazard, right? And that was the only times they were making plays. So yeah, man, I think there was a lot of stuff going on. At this point it's just kind of nitpicking. Like we had 6 field goals. We should have had at least 3 of those should have been touchdowns, I would say. So you got it, yeah, it probably is okay against the Jets, great defense, but it's probably not going to fly if you're in a shootout with another team, right? Like the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not going to fly. 6 field goals against the Chiefs, probably not going to fly. So,
right.
So a lot of things to dissect and talk about here.
Yeah, and we're going to get into each one of those items. So, I think to your point, obviously before we get into each area, right? I think one of the things was that, that what you just mentioned about the rust, right? BA definitely looked rusty. Obviously, the catching the ball through the tree in the offseason, whatever. That doesn't really, it's not the same as
that's his offseason program. Me and him have that same offseason program then, bro.
And but I will say I was actually delightfully surprised with Trent's performance, still playing every single snap up until he went out with the IV. And I was definitely impressed with the offensive line. I could not state that enough, because that was my biggest fear actually outside of the defense. How well is this O line, which basically was our obviously our Achilles and the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, in the Super Bowl. And I was very, very thoroughly impressed with the improvement I saw in the blocking and pass pro, as well as kind of, seeing Colton win his actual one-on-one match, as Burford win his first start, I think, at left guard, if I'm not mistaken, for Burford. And just that for Banks.
He didn't start. He came in for Banks. Banks got banged up in the game.
Yeah, Banks came, then he came. Right. So but that's even more impressive. If he wasn't even, if he was practicing for it, then he came in, a very thin O-line with Feliciano, Banks, and correct was Brendel in at center? Was that Brendel?
Yeah, that was Brendel. Brendel was there.
Brendel, yeah. And you got CJ Mosley, you got Javon Kinlaw. These are killers, bro. These are Quinn and Williams. This is not an average, pass rush that they're going up against. So I was very, very delightfully surprised with how well they did. And I think to your point about rustiness, I think Brandon BA dropping that touchdown in the end zone, that was right there. And
how do you not? Purdy dimed that, man. Like, how do you drop that? Like, that was a dime. That was like he put it in a place where only BA could catch it, and BA dropped it. I'm like, bro, that alone should cost you $10 million on that contract.
Give back all the guarantee money, make it all incentive.
They should add in like another clause where for every drop ball, he gives back $1 million.
Yeah. But you know what? You know who looked good? Debo. Debo actually surprised me. I mean, Debo actually looked really good, you know, in the run game as well as the passing game. And, you know, obviously the reason I'm saying it surprised me was because his injury last year in the Super Bowl and seeing him get clamped up by McDuffie and Snead, you know, that was really what, because I had a front row seat to that. So that was kind of something that stood out to me, you know, to see, okay, like, you know, he actually did put in the work this offseason and, you know, that translated to on the field results. And obviously Jordan Mason, I mean, like, enough can't be said about him. So actually, let's kind of talk a little bit more. So like offensively, you know, obviously the Niners, like you said, they left points on the field, right? They average, you know, Jake Moody obviously 6 of 6 field goals. That's phenomenal. I think that's a record. It ties a record for the Niners, right? You know, obviously Jordan Mason had 147 yards. We already talked about the O line, but like you said, the opportunities were there. Kind of where was that disconnect? I mean, because there were opportunities. I also noticed like there were situational kind of, you know, I guess instances where Kyle could have went and instead of going for it, which was what we saw in the Super Bowl, he basically took the points, right? And like, for example, at the goal line in the third, it was 4th and 1, whatever, right? The fourth, he did the same thing, you know, and obviously that's actually right before Trent went out for the IV. So maybe he was conserving Trent. I don't know. But kind of talking about kind of what's your take on the offense? Like, I mean, like as a whole and kind of the strategy. I mean, have you seen any changes based on last night, or do you kind of see more of the same of kind of, you know, what we saw last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know why Kyle just didn't keep running with Jordan Mason. Like that dude was just like
Yeah.
killing it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's like the perfect fit for Kyle's scheme, right? He's a one cut type dude. That's what you need in a zone scheme. That's why CMC does well. He's not the pass catcher that CMC is, obviously, but I think Jordan Mason, you just kept going with that guy, man. That guy was like Marshawn Lynch, and like he was just like bowling people over at times, and then he was
Oh,
like showing like this one cut like Le'Veon Bell style, like he was showing speed, power. He was doing it all, right? So yes, we're getting hyped off one game of Jordan Mason, but I do think Jordan Mason this year is gonna. I think we're gonna see him play a lot more.
yeah. Mhm.
And so I think CMC doesn't play next week either. I think because of how Jordan Mason played this week, they're like, you know what, stay on the shelf, CMC. Let's get you another week, right? Because calf injury, and they're listing it as calf Achilles for CMC, so it's like, is there something a little more wrong with his calf than they're letting on? Apparently, they're going to be investigated now for their injury report because they listed CMC as questionable when he probably should have been doubtful. So that was a little shady. Probably screwed over some fantasy owners, some gambling guys. That's why the NFL is investigating it now, right? So, um, otherwise the NFL doesn't care, right? But it's probably killed a bunch of dudes that had like some points on money on CMC's over under or whatever, right? Um, so I think Jordan Mason looks like he can come in. I mean, if CMC doesn't even play 4 games, dude, we'll be fine on in the run game. Like I think Mason being there, we're gonna be fine. Wide receivers, yeah, Debo looked great. But I'm surprised we didn't see more slant routes or we didn't see more Debo screens. Like Kyle Shanahan picked the weirdest time to call like a Debo bubble screen. I'm like, why would you call like it was like end of the half, like close to the end of the first half, and like there's like 30 seconds left. He's like, let me call a Debo bubble screen. I'm like, what? This is the wrong time for this. Why are you calling this right now?
Yeah.
Um, and then we settle for a field goal, right? I think that's
Mhm.
kind of the missed opportunities, like you said. So I don't know. Shanahan's play calling was interesting. Um, but I also think Purdy had me a little concerned in the second half. Like he was making some weird throws towards the end of this game,
Mhm.
where he kind of just like sailed it over a wide open use check. He like dunked it a little low to Kittle. Like I think he does that a couple of times a game, and that's fine. But like those could be like interceptions or those are really bad balls, right? So I think Purdy's got to clean up just a little bit of what he was doing. But he was great last night, right? With the weapons, and he finds guys. So I think we gave Purdy a lot of time, like that. Like to your point, the line was good. Purdy had a lot of time. Quinnen Williams disrupted a handful of plays. You expect that from a guy who's an All Pro. Javon Kinlaw, not a killer. Just want to correct you on that.
Last year he
uh,
kind of showed me something, but yeah, I agree.
yeah, but not a killer.
Right,
He's more like an attack dog who can get can do some things.
right.
Um, yeah. So I mean, offensively, I think the Niners showed, right, like as long as you have the run game going, they can work off play action. They can hit balls. Brandon Ayuk's just got to catch them. And let's get a couple more like crossing routes on Debo. Also, Debo, stop lowering your shoulders, stop lowering your head. Don't get hurt. He just wants to bowl over dudes. Like, don't do that, Debo. Don't. He's a little lighter this year too. I don't know if you noticed that. So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
he looked like there's one hit he took from where he just bowled over the guy. I was like, oh God, I hope Debo didn't hurt his shoulder on this because that looked brutal.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to your point, I agree. I think, kind of like I think Brock, yeah, I mean, and that's a really good point because I noticed that I was just wondering, was like, are my eyes deceiving me? But I'm watching him and I don't see the sound decision making. I see, like you said, risky throws. The one that should have been picked, the one to Kittle, that should have absolutely been picked off. And I think mainly what it was, because you remember when Brock, when they asked him in training camp a few weeks back, they asked Brock, like, wait, Brock, why didn't you take the check down? You threw it down 50 yards, it could have been picked. And he's like, I want to be dominant. He said, I want to be dominant. I want to try new things, my opportunity to try new things. I wonder if he still had that same kind of mentality heading into this week one. He's like, okay, the game's outreach. Let's take some chances and let's do that. But then, like to your point, like I mean, that doesn't really explain like the low balls, the dinks and dunk. I mean, it was kind of interesting, really, really interesting when you think about it. So,
Yeah,
and
it's just I think it's something to watch with Purdy like this year. Just watch it, just see what his decision making. Like there's even a play Kyle Juszczyk was wheeling wide open on the right side. He didn't even look that way. That would have been
yeah,
an easy touchdown, and Purdy didn't even look that way. So, uh, I don't know if he's just trying to get the ball out quickly or what it is, or he's just I don't know what he's doing this year. But it just at least game one, it felt a little off for Purdy. So he still had a good game, but it felt a little off. And I think those are kind of the key differences in like these field goals being touchdowns, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, Especially when you're asking Purdy to throw the ball and he's like not making those throws or he's like not hitting the right guy on the routes, things like that. Like when he's not making the right decisions, maybe those are the differences, right? Or maybe Kyle Shanahan can, just run the ball with Jordan Mason when it's like 3rd and 2. Why are you throwing like weird bubble screens to right? Or why are you calling like weird plays where Purdy's like on the run? Uh when the run game is working. So I think Kyle Shanahan, like great at establishing the run and then just work off his play action. That's his game. That's his bread and butter, right? Establish the run, work off play action. Purdy can do all that stuff off play action. Like he hit a beauty to use check off the play action,
Oh
right?
God, that was a beautiful
Yeah.
throw. Yeah,
So Purdy can make great throws. I just don't know. Maybe he was just in this like, hey, we're up. Let me just like, try to fit. Let me see how tight I can fit throws in. Maybe that's what he was thinking. We'll see. I don't think they're going to be really challenged against Minnesota next week, but um, we'll have to see once he gets to a more challenging team how he performs.
yeah, 100%. But to your point, no, the field goals aren't going to work against Kansas City, so they got to figure something out. Hopefully next week or the weeks after. But let's talk now about the defense. Oh, actually, before we move on to defense, one more thing I want to bring out the offense. Trent Williams, because we were talking about rust and everything. I think I read a stat this morning that he did not allow a single pressure in 33 snaps on. I mean that's incredible. I mean I don't know what. I think Trent was trying to use the contract holdout as basically a scapegoat to not have to go training camp because he's been in the league. So I mean
I don't know,
definitely.
man. I think he should have gone to training camp a little bit, bro. He came in. He looked like a little chunkier than normal.
He did. But I mean, that might actually help us because we do need some size and some strength on that side. Well, not that side, the other side. But I mean, at least Holmes cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. He can definitely, he'll condition. He'll get back in the game shape. I mean,
He'll get
give him
back
like
to
a
it. I'm
week.
not worried about Trent. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
worried about Trent. I also
yeah,
think the Jets didn't want to line up Quinn and Williams against them, so I don't think they were moving Quinn and Williams everywhere except on Trent. That's
that's
what
right.
they were doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean,
So
one more
Trent
thing
did.
is that
Who did Trent get? I don't even know who the pass rushers are on the Jets after Quinn and Williams.
was it C.J.
Was
Mosley? Was that who it was?
CJ Mosley's a linebacker. He blitzed in a couple of times, but
No, it's the
they don't
other
have
guy. I
like
forgot his name. Yeah,
amazing pass rushers.
no, 92. I forgot his name. 92 on the Jets. Gosh, they call him. They call him for
We'll look
hands
it
in the
up.
face. Yeah. He actually had hands
We'll
in the
look it
face
up.
on Colton. Yeah, that's who it was. Those other guy. I forgot his name, but yeah, he's actually pretty good too. But yeah, no, I mean obviously offense line looked great. Let's see, Purdy clean it up, babe. Dial it in. Offense get together. Spend some time outside training as I know practice and clean up for
No,
next
no.
launch.
Purdy needs to practice with Ayuk. Make sure he catches those balls, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And Ayuk needs to basically hit the jug machine like every day until he can actually
Every
catch
day,
the ball.
every day. How does he not have one in his house, bro? Why are you catching like passes like between trees from a random person?
All right, let's talk about the defense now. Now, basically, the defense, what we looked for and what I was looking for. Fred Warner, phenomenal, wire to wire, every single snap. I was shocked to see Bosa and Fred still in with 5 minutes left in the game when it was. I don't know what they were doing out there, and I was screaming. I was like, "Get out of the game! Get out of the fucking league! Why are you still there?" So I was really worried, but they made it. So, and one thing I noticed was the pressures. The pressures were much improved. I think if I'm not mistaken, there was only one sack, and that was Leonard Floyd, the same man who put Aaron Rodgers on the shelf last year. So obviously, great free agent acquisition. From that end, and obviously, we did have the interception. Correct me, who was the interception? It wasn't Lenore. I
It
forgot who was
was
it.
Demetrius Flanagan fouls.
It was
Whatever
there
it
you
was.
go.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
because
think
it
that
was
was
because Lenore tipped it to him.
yeah, Lenore tipped it, and then obviously Flanagan's fouls too. And then basically that was one of the things, because I remember Larry Kruger talked about it. He's like, okay, like I mean, do you want to stay with Jalen Graham? Do you want to, And they end up going with D Winter, who's obviously was out for the game. And then Larry Kruger said, I guess just shipping out, Jalen Graham or is going to haunt us in the future. But I really don't think so. I don't know if Jalen Graham is really that good of a prospect. And he had a great college career at TCU, and he hasn't really shown too much. And obviously, I mean, DFF looked great. I mean, in my opinion, and I honestly liked him. I wish he was in the Super Bowl, over Burks. In my opinion, I don't know why Steve Wilkes didn't start him. But that's a conversation for a different day. Um, but I mean,
Yeah.
what were your takes on the defense? Obviously, I think I liked how I mean, the offensive line of the Jets, to your point earlier, was that it's a really pretty solid offensive line. And I thought that the defensive line was able to harass and get to Rodgers. And obviously, they did force turnovers. They actually could have had a few more. Yadam dropped one, but I mean, Yadam was kind of a little shaky too, a little bit here and there in coverage. But I mean, Lazard beat him a few times, for the touchdown, and a few other things. But kind of, what was your overall take on the defense last night?
Yeah, I mean, they were solid. Obviously, when you have Fred Warner, Bosa, Leonard Floyd, they were creating havoc, right? Even Devondre Campbell was creating a bit of havoc. So I think it was a pretty good performance. And I think what they weren't prepared for was how quickly Aaron Rodgers can get the ball out. So they got caught looking a couple of times, right? They got caught looking a couple of times on that.
Yeah,
But whatever. I mean, you're gonna give us some chunk plays. You're gonna do that any game. So overall, they gave up some chunk plays. They gave up an early touchdown, then they gave up like a garbage time touchdown, basically in my mind. Like the game was already done by that point when the
yeah,
Allen Lazard scored. So
yeah,
I think they just have to keep up that intensity. Just figure out a way to get a couple more sacks in a game. I mean, one sack good, but they were getting pressure on Rodgers, and that one sack happened because of Bosa.
yeah,
Like Bosa was there, and then Leonard Floyd just cleaned it up. But I also noticed Bosa was getting held a lot. Like they were showing a replay of something else, and you could see the guy literally had his arms wrapped around Bosa's like neck. I'm like, how is this not a holding?
yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Bosa gets held a lot. That's the biggest thing, and it
It's
doesn't get
terrible.
called.
It doesn't call because when I was at this game again, the Super Bowl back in Vegas. I don't know if you guys can read that, whatever. But I'm just like, dude, do you remember when was Taylor who had him like this on the last on yeah, right? It was literally like that. I'm like, and then I was like, how is this not a hold? Like I, and I'm just like, now you see this again, right? Like, with your point, right? I mean, there's a lot of contact. I don't know what Bosa has to do to get the refs. I do like the fact the refs were calling holding on hands in the face. They were better at calling those as well. And last night, and they were better at calling, the pass interference. I like the TPI calls, but I don't know, man. I don't know why Bosa can't get the flags. I just don't get
Yeah,
it.
I don't know. I don't know. This maybe they just don't like Joey Bosa and they're taking it out on Nick Bosa.
Probably. Oh man. But
Yeah.
I think one of the things, I think, like you said, and one of the things is the linebacking core looked great. And thank you for bringing up Campbell, because I forgot that point. Campbell, another free agent acquisition, filling in for Greenlaw, right? I thought he did a great job in his first start. I mean, I thought he did a great job, and I really was, because when you have a player coming off an ACL or coming off knee surgery or Achilles, right? Those are kind of those are directionally changing types of injuries in terms of kind of how well they can move directionally, laterally, horizontally, fly after the ball, get to their assignment, right? And I mean, I thought Devondre Campbell he showed out, bro. I mean, and I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's you're gonna need this kind of play. I don't think Dre Greenlaw is coming back. Like
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think he's not gonna play this season, and then he's gonna be a free agent. I don't know if he's gonna sign for a cheap money contract, like a 1 year
Right.
prove it deal coming off an Achilles, or he's gonna walk. But like you can't be paying linebackers right outside of you can pay one really good one like Fred Warner, and then after
Yeah.
that you got to just draft well or find good veteran guys who are cheap contracts and bring them in and have them play. So I think we're not going to see Greenlaw again as a at least this season. And then he comes back, he's coming on a cheap 1 year prove it deal. That's the only way Greenlaw comes back up to the Niners.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, obviously we have fan favorites. Greenlaw is one of my favorite players. I have the autograph from the case behind me. But hey, bro, this is the NFL. I mean, and back to your earlier point about Ayuk, right? I mean, BA, right? If BA, I mean, like, because Cortez actually made this point yesterday. He said with the contract signing of BA, who are the guys got to move off of? And you and I talked about this, and I would talk about it here, on this platform, because you're paying a receiver $30 million a year, which is top end receiver money, and then you have another guy in Deebo Samuel making $28.5 million a year, which is also top end receiver money. You have to really come to a decision as to who you're going to go with. And he brought up this point, which actually was evidence last night. And I mean, and he actually called the spread too. He called 13 point, the spread. I don't know how he did it. He's like, yeah, 34-21. It was actually 29, whatever, 32-19, but
Wow.
right down the middle. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And I mean, and so I was like, and then he's like, but what if Deebo, because I just assumed Brand BA is going to be the same BA of last year, he's going to progress. But he said, what if Deebo outperforms BA this year? You gave BA
They were
money.
screwed. They were screwed.
Right, exactly. Or you have to cut your losses. You have to ship BA out, take the hit, and then just retool. And I mean, it's obviously going to be like whatever the guaranteed hit it's going to hit, right? I'm not sure how the hard cap soft cap works, but obviously the 47 million you're going to have to, I mean, maybe
I don't think I think the way his contract is structured, they won't trade him in the first 2 years. That's BA. That's BA.
Yeah. Well,
Because
then
he's gonna have too hard of a hit, so he's gonna have to step it up. I think they're gonna move off. They're gonna move off guys like Hafunga, Charvarius Ward. They're gonna have to move off those kind of guys, like
I really hope they
defensive
don't go forward.
contributors. And I don't know what I hope so too. But Ward is gonna be expensive, man. He's gonna be expensive. Hafunga's gonna be expensive. I mean, these are guys on like cheaper contracts. They're gonna be expensive, and Ward is gonna want to get paid. You're gonna have to move off guys like Hargrave. You're gonna have to move off,
Oh yeah.
I think you're gonna have to move off Deebo. I think
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, either you move off Deebo or you figure out a way to you say, hey, Christian McCaffrey, give us back that money. Go back to Carolina or something. See ya. Peace.
No, but to your point, and sorry, go ahead, please.
No, that was it. That was my point. That was my
No,
point.
to
You have
your
to move
point
off
about
guys
Deebo,
like this.
what you said about CMC, because that's what Cortez, the point he made yesterday, is that with CMC, Kyle schemes the playbook around Deebo. With CMC, you kind of have that same element, same type of player that you can kind of use, as a wide back, as well as kind of, in the passing game, because CMC does fill a lot of the same holes. Obviously, CMC is getting up there in age as running back, and Deebo is not full time, running back is a wide back, right? But I mean, I think that's interesting, when you think about it, because that's kind of I think that's the strategy, right? You keep BA and then you keep CMC, and then those are what brought cornerstones with Kittle, maybe. So, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
CMC has to stay healthy, so we'll see. But I think definitely they're gonna move off like Hafunga. They're gonna move off, I think Hargrave is probably another cut that they make.
Hargrave should be cut this year if it wasn't for the money they gave him already, 84 million. I don't know how.
Yeah. I think he's cut next year for sure. Like I think they save money by cutting him. So Hargrave, Hafunga, they're not gonna pay Hafunga, man. They're pretty set on the guys they have there. So I just think it's hard for them to pay guys like maybe Ward they prioritize because they need a corner. Like you can't lose. Like if we lose Ward, like you got what Lenore, you got to pay Lenore too, right? That's the other thing. Lenore is also due for a contract. So they're gonna have to decide Lenore or Ward. I think that's the decision they're gonna have to make on cornerback. Yeah, and then you just gotta hope that you find some good rookies here. Like you gotta hope Malik Mustafa turns into a guy. You gotta hope that maybe like Isaac Yiadom is good. He's solid, so like maybe you move off Lenore and you try to find, then Renardo Green turns into a player. So then you have Green, you can move off Lenore, you can sign Ward, right? These are the kind of things you have. I mean, these are the kind of moves they're making. It seems like to make sure that they are covered for the next 1 or 2 years, especially at corner. Like I feel like that's why Green was a second round pick, right? They're like, oh, we're gonna have to make a decision next offseason. We hope we get something out of Green. So I think that's the way they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think that was a strategy with the draft, right? And I think one more thing to kind of, I want to ask you this because you mentioned a lot of the rookies who played. What was your impression of Green and Mustafa? We obviously saw Papuni dominated, but what was your impression of the other rookies last night?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Mustafa. He was on special teams, right? He was only on special teams, really. So I didn't see Mustafa.
Yeah, I think they had Odom back there. I was like, wait,
yeah,
why
they had
Odom?
Odom. They had Odom. They had Odom. Odom was starting because I think Hafunga was still not ready to go. and
Yeah.
they had Odom starting. So, and I think Mustafa played just special teams. I think also Green only really played special teams. I don't think I saw Green out there much either.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and I think they're going to get their touches this year. Because we're gonna talk about week two in a bit, but I think as we kind of progress through the season, you're going to see the rookies start getting injected and ingratiated. With these kind of second half, especially when the games get outreach. You'll see a lot more new faces on the field. But I think to your point, I totally agree. I think unfortunately though, I mean, because if I'm mistaken, PFF ranks Mooney Ward as the third best corner in the league, and I mean to lose that is just. Oh my God! I mean, and Kelsey was
but
holding
he's
him.
gonna want to get he's gonna want to get paid, right? Like I don't know what the
Absolutely,
cornerback money
no,
market is, but he's
right?
gonna want
No,
to get
you're
paid.
right. No, I know you're absolutely correct, and that's what I'm saying. Like you're making the right, you're valid. Your point is absolutely massive. I can't compartmentalize that with the money and the obviously the team, and I don't want to lose them. But it is what it is. This is the dilemma with great teams, with good teams. So
Yep. And it looks like you're gonna have to like he's gonna want a contract that's like in the 20 million a year range, right? So like it
ooh,
looks like that's what these guys got paid, right? Like Jalen Ramsey's contract is up there,
mm-hmm.
PS2, Jair Alexander, AJ Terrell. Like
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be like, hey, I'm better than Denzel Ward. You gotta pay me more than that, dude.
yeah,
He's making like
absolutely.
20.1 million a year. So
God,
I think Ward, I mean, he's older, but he's probably gonna ask for like a 3-year, $60 million contract at least.
yeah.
So you have to think about it at that time because you're already paying Bosa, you're already paying Fred. You're gonna have to, right? Those are two big guys, and then the offensive side, like you're gonna have to pay Purdy. Purdy's gonna get what 60 million. Dak got 60 million. Purdy's gonna get
Maybe
61, 62,
maybe 65.
maybe
Oh God,
65. Like, oh my
yeah.
goodness, right? Like, if and if this is gonna happen again with Purdy, where he's gonna like hold out, and he's not gonna come to camp, and then we're gonna have to like pay him like 1 week before the season, like we've done pretty much with Bosa and Ayuk. That's not gonna be good, right? Like you got to pay that guy right away because other quarterbacks are gonna get paid, and then he's gonna be like a $70 million dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing about Purdy is that he has so much character. I mean, I'm sure he will just kind of be business as usual. Like he's gonna come to camp. He's not gonna make a fuss out of it. You're not gonna
Let's
see a
hope
team.
so. Hey,
Yeah.
that's what everyone is until they want to get paid.
I mean, but like for example, you saw Dak Prescott, right? I mean, how he handled his contract situation. I
Yeah,
mean, they literally
yeah,
paid him
yeah,
the morning of week one, and like he kept his mouth shut,
yeah,
kept his head down,
yeah.
and he earned his contract just like that. And I think Purdy can follow the
Exactly,
same model and basically get the most of his money's worth.
exactly,
So
exactly. I agree. I agree.
yeah.
And
So let's.
another guy that Niners might move off of George Kittle.
Oh gosh, stop this!
These are
Stop! You
sorry,
stop!
sorry. This is March of 2025 talk. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Yeah,
myself.
we're going 2024. We have to win the Super Bowl this year. So let's focus about this season. Then let's hold it to Lombardi. Then we can fire everyone. I don't care.
All right, all
Anyways,
right, all right. Let's talk about next week. Let's get into week 2.
that's it. Talk about week two. All right, Minnesota Vikings obviously coming off a 28-6 win over the New York Giants. Sam Darnold, our backup quarterback from last year, came in filling for JJ McCarthy, and obviously with Justin Jefferson, the weapons they have, they obviously present problems, right? Rob and Dante Whitner were talking about in the post game last night, but and the Niners are going on a short week. It's a 10 a.m. start. West Coast teams traveling on a short week. Obviously, that's always both has always present problems. But kind of talk to me about what you're expecting, what you're looking forward to next week, and what your predictions are.
Yeah. I definitely want to see how the Niners come out on a short week, right?
Yeah.
Coming off this kind of big Monday Night Football win, home opener, all that stuff. And now going to Minnesota, maybe a team you underestimated because you're like, Sam Darnold, you know? Um, you're like, Sam Darnold, right? Like I guarantee you that's like Fred Warner's probably thinking that. Bosa's thinking, this guy, he was a backup, dude. We know
Unless
this
you're on
guy's
Reddit. And
tendencies.
then what is it? What is it? GEQ bus? What is that name? GEQ bus, whatever they call them on Reddit. I don't know. Anyways, good. Sam Darnold. Whatever
Is
they
that what
call
they call them?
them.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they're probably like what they want to avoid is this is like a classic trap game, right? For the
Yeah.
Niners going to the
Yeah.
East Coast, short week, coming off home opener. So they want to avoid a slow start, right? You can't be kicking field goals with Jake Moody here to start this game. You got to go
Mhm.
out, score a touchdown, kind of, assert your will on them, run with Jordan Mason. I don't think the Vikings defense is that great. You can run on them. The Vikings played a G League team and the Giants. Like, what is their defense? Like, they're probably going to be one of the worst defenses in the league. So Sam Darnold looked great, sure. Now let's see how Sam Darnold looks against the top 5 defense. and kind of just get after that dude. He's gonna make plays to Justin Jefferson. Let him, but
Yeah.
make sure you give him some hits. Make sure you take everyone else away. Let Justin Jefferson get some of his whatever catches he's gonna get. He's gonna get like 10 catches, 100 yards, whatever, a touchdown. Great. But if they don't do anything else, if you get pressure on Darnold outside of that, I think he'll make mistakes and you'll set yourself up to win the game. So, I mean, they just got to get after him and make sure he makes those mistakes that he does normally make.
100%.
Except when he's playing the Giants.
Yeah, we're not playing the Giants. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because they do have Justin Jefferson. I don't know who. Oh, yeah, they do have Aaron Jones. I forgot about Aaron Jones. They have Aaron Jones back on the backfield. They have, like you said, they're a sneaky team. It might be a trap game. Yeah, the Giants are terrible, but one thing I noticed when I watched that game, that pass rush of Minnesota looks ferocious. So the way the offensive line played today, they're going to have to keep that intensity, that momentum going up into week 2. Well, I'm curious to see how Banks' injury is, if he's going to come back or Burford is going to get the snaps this week in practice at guard, right? And then basically then you have Burford, Williams, Brendel, Pooney, and McKivitz. And then basically like we saw this week, you run to set up the pass, right? You're going to have to go up against that, like you said, that defense that isn't that great. I think the linebacking core of Minnesota is definitely depleted. So I think you can definitely attack them back there. And that's what Shanahan loves to do in the play action. He loves to attack linebackers, right? Especially that's the soft spot. So you can use that to your advantage. Now the question is really, how well can our defense hold up? It's not really a test. I mean, honestly, but it is, like you said, JJ, gets his, right? He's the best receiver in the league. Let him get his, right? And then obviously then, can they get after? What I want to see, which I didn't really see last week, is I want to see them get after Sam Darnold. I want to see Sam Darnold harassed. I don't want to see him, like you said, get that ball out so quick like Aaron did. I want to see him be rattled. He's not a mobile quarterback, number one. He's like a statue back there. He's not going to be able. He doesn't have a quick release. I mean, not as quick as Aaron Rodgers, at least, even at age 40. And I do think that bodes well for the defense, right? I want to see Bosa and Floyd get after him. Hargrave, whoever is on that, Collins, right? Whoever's on the interior line. And I'm curious to see if Eater's injury is going to, if he's back next week, if he's going to get some reps, if Robert Beal Jr. will get some reps, because then we can see what, these younger guys can basically offer, right? Who can bring to the table.
Yeah. But I think Robert Beal got some reps yesterday. He was in there for a couple of plays. I definitely saw him.
Was he in there? Do you recall when it was? Was it like near the end of like the fourth, or when did you see him?
Definitely closer to the end.
Yeah.
But I think he was even in there in the third quarter at some point.
Very good. Okay, yeah, he's getting his feet wet. But I think that's one of the issues that they keep calling out on their pods, like Dave Lombardi, Berger. Obviously Hassan Reddick is an interesting situation because he's holding out and he's missing out game money because they don't want to pay him, basically, right? Jets have said we don't want to pay you. But could you imagine if somehow they're able to kind of, make a deal where they get Hassan Reddick paired with Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd?
It's not gonna happen because Hassan Reddick he apparently wants to get paid, so Niners are not gonna pay him.
Yeah,
they're definitely not gonna pay that guy, so it's not gonna happen. Because he wants more guarantees outside of this season, right? And
right.
He's willing to give up basically what is it, $800K a game now? He's giving up $800K a game, dude. Like I'm like, why didn't you just play, dog? Like,
yeah,
just play.
Prove it, man. Yeah,
yeah.
Prove it. That's what Jerry Rice says. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, prove it, right? Like you said, prove it.
And I think the issue with Hassan Reddick is the guarantees, because now defensive end is such a hot commodity in terms of pay per position in the league. I think Hassan Reddick, the issue with him is that the run support. That's one of the issues because they look for that when they hired, or not when when they pay defensive ends like Nick Bosa, great run support. Leonard Floyd, even believe it or not, even at the age of 32, is actually still really good at run support. This is from what I saw yesterday. And, I think Hassan Reddick, that's his Achilles heel, but he's basically stated, he's been on record to say that, the issue is that, because of the fact that, guys don't run to the side, he's not able to get, those opportunities, right, to stop the run. Right? I mean, yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Whatever, dude. Just, I mean, they were talking about it on the broadcast. He hasn't talked to anyone. He hasn't talked to Robert Saleh. He hasn't talked to Quinnen Williams. He hasn't talked to anyone on the Jets. So I don't know, man. It's a weird approach, but he's going to lose money and he's not going to get paid next year because everyone's like, this guy's a head case. Like, who wants him on the team?
I mean, he was always
a Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, he always was a head case, even back in Philly. I mean, I never saw him as a low key cat player, but that's really what made him great as a player. Like on the historic Philly D line back, 2 years ago, he was basically loud, rambunctious, obviously a great kind of fiery kind of guy, and he's like that off the field too. and that's what makes him great. And I think, well, I mean, one of my friends actually made this point, like, if the Niners were able to use him the same capacity we used Randy Gregory last year, could you imagine the opportunities that could open up for our entire our pass and our defense? And
Mm-hmm.
but then again, I mean, like to your point, like I mean, yeah, I mean, if he wants guarantees, if we can get him on a rental, but he like you said, he's missing out on game checks. I don't know. I mean, because I mean, he's really like you say, he's a head case, and I mean, he's just such a wild card. I don't know where his head's at. Like he doesn't like you don't want to play to get paid, and you don't want to play until you sign guarantees. And I mean, it's all about the money. That's really a bad look that you're saying to your teammates and with the organization.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, back to the game anyway. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Niners dominate. They should fucking blow them out of the water. I mean, it should be like a 15 to 20, 35-point game. If it's a close game, then that's a failure on Kyle Shanahan and that entire team. Like, do you maybe this team roster wise?
I think it's a trap game for them, man. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a trap game. So I think it's gonna be closer than we expect. I'll give you my prediction.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go Niners 31, Vikings 24.
Yeah, no, that's solid. I think 30. I mean, Vikings show, like I said, they show promise. Against a very bad team, and they're at home, right, in the short week. Yeah, just come out of there with a win. I mean, that's I mean, I'm still gonna go. I mean, I expect him to win by 2 scores. I mean, you are the Super Bowl runner-up, NFC champions. I got the trophy up there, got the conference championship ring up there, I got Brock's autograph up there, I got all those teams' autographs, anyways. But you guys have to basically go out there and continue this momentum. If you want to get back to the promised land, you have to continue this momentum, get off to a hot start. This is the opportunity to basically take the division lead. Puka Nakua's out with the PCL, MCL, whatever, right? I mean, Seattle doesn't look that great. They went overtime, and I forgot who they even played in week 1. I don't know who it was. It was 26-20. They won by, like, what, overtime? Or was it, like, last
Broncos. They won they played the
yeah,
Broncos.
dude, you play against Bo Nix, and you basically live a 6-point win. I mean, against that stone cold stalwart defense of Mike McDonald. I mean, whatever. I mean, and then like who else there? The Cardinals, right? They actually look pretty good against Buffalo, but Buffalo's Buffalo. I mean, you don't know what version of Buffalo you're going to get. So I really this is the Niners' chance to obviously get a divisional lead, get off to a hot start. Keep that momentum going. Like you said, obviously if it's a close game, I just want to see. I want to see more. I want to see more of kind of they came out rusty. I want to see them be a little bit more, composed, wire to wire on both sides of the ball. I want to see, sustained drives. I want to see, just continue that. And I want to see Brock get a little bit more in rhythm with his receivers. I want to see BA, like you said, start, making those plays. I want to see Kittle get more involved. I want to see, a little bit more on both sides, especially on the offensive side. I'm looking at the offense more than anything this game because that defense should not be the reason why Minnesota is hanging in this game. It should be, a JJ, doing what he can do. Obviously, and I'm looking forward to seeing how our corner secondary do against this unit, right? With JJ, right, best receiver in the league. That's gonna be a good test for, when Casey does come here in 5 weeks, right? When we have to obviously go up against Xavier Worthy and the boys, right? That's gonna, I mean, that's basically the standard. If you want to be a champion, you got to, what's the saying Ric Flair says? I know you don't want the WWE, but what is it? In order to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? We're gonna have a chance to play the man in a few weeks, and we got to beat them, and we haven't beat them up to this point. So, I mean, I want them to keep momentum going this first half of the season, and I want to see some dominance. I want to see 2-score win game. I'm going to predict that, and I don't know if I feel confident in that pick, but that's my pick. I'm going to pick 2-score win game, 10 to 14 points, Niners win 30-20 over Minnesota.
All right. Not bad.
Now let's actually fast forward a little bit.
We'll see, man. They got to just keep this up.
Yeah, they really have to keep it up. And to your point, it's all about winning. It's all about winning. If they can win, they win. It's a trap game, short week. Come out there with a win. That's it. Let's actually fast forward a little bit right before the shoot game because the next couple weeks are pretty. I'm really not sold on any of these opponents. I mean, the Rams was the Patriots, the Cardinals, right? Before Kansas City. Do you predict the Niners to go undefeated before week 6, 7, whatever it is, when Casey comes to town? And do you see any other trap games potentially, coming up on the schedule before Casey?
Yeah, no, I don't. The only other one could be the Cardinals. That's the only other one that could be a little bit of a trap. They always play a little tight. Not worry about the Rams. I think we play Kansas City week 6. Is that right? Or week 5?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think we'll be undefeated heading into that game. And that's going to be a pretty hype game. What I think is going to happen is we're going to be so hyped for that game. And if we if we win that game, the next game we're just gonna lose it. We're just gonna be so
We're gonna lose
like
to the Dallas Cowboys? Did I just hear you
yeah,
on record?
man.
No, 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 no.
If we beat the Chiefs, they're gonna be so hyped that they're just gonna be like so they're just gonna be so like
Lackadaisical against the sorry ass Dallas Cowboys. Hell no. Golly, we do not lose to the Cowboys.
Do you rather we beat the Cowboys than lose to the Chiefs?
No, I'd much rather we beat the Chiefs than lose the Cowboys any day of the week. So I mean, let's just see what happens. God, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, well,
I think that it's gonna be like one of those really high like it's like gonna be they're gonna hype it up like the Eagles game, right? They're gonna get it up for that game and they're gonna want to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So they're gonna try a lot to beat the Chiefs. And I mean, look, injuries could happen in between now and then. Anyone could get hurt. Debo could get hurt. You know, all these guys could get hurt. So if we stay healthy, definitely undefeated going into the Chiefs game, and then let's see what happens after that.
I forgot the health factors. Fuck. I keep forgetting that.
Yes.
You know, you guys, last year we were very healthy. This year, you know, you never know when the injury bug pops up. Better pray it doesn't cross us, you know, this year. You know, hopefully, you know, lightning strike twice and when we stay healthy throughout the end of the year. So I mean, yeah, I agree.
We gotta play the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football before the Chiefs. So that might be another trap game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Seahawks.
So it's in Seattle.
Yeah, it's in Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry, wait. We play them in week 7. Is that correct? It's week 7 we play the Chiefs, not week 6.
Let me check here. I get you.
Yeah, I think I thought it was just 3 games.
Week 7.
Yeah,
week 7
so we might be 5-1 or 6-0 heading into that game. So I mean that's again momentum. That's all I'm looking for momentum. Keep building momentum, build this division lead early. You know, that way, you know, if you know, God forbid, you know, you do run into some of these issues down the stretch, you know, on the back end of the season, you have that cushion to kind of, you know, solidify you. And let me ask you one more thing about, you know, Detroit and their win against LA, because I saw on Reddit, you know, a lot of Niners basically fans think that, you know, Detroit looks like the most complete team addressing their, you know, secondary needs in the offseason and winning against the Rams. But were you sold? I mean, I was impressed with kind of the run game. Detroit also had a great O-line, you know, but I thought Jared Goff kind of had some miscues down the stretch. What did you think about Detroit, and who do you think is going to win the NFC? Because the Niners, when I watched it first take this morning, are still the favorites to win the NFC and still the favorites to actually win the Super Bowl with ESPN Bet. What is your early predictions so far, and talking about that?
Yeah. Lions look good, man. Lions looked a little rusty too, right? For whatever reason, they had a little rust going on there, but I think I was on record with on another podcast as saying I think the Lions win the NFC. That was before Ayuk signed. That was before Trent came back. Now my concern was Trent and Ayuk, right? I still am a little concerned that CMC isn't playing these kind of things. I do feel like the Niners are the most complete team. They just got to lock in and focus to get to where they want to go. The Niner fan in me is saying definitely we're going back to the Super Bowl. We're doing it. This is the year, right? That's the Niner fan in me. But if I kind of take a step back, look at things a little more objectively, it's a little hard, man, to go to like 4 straight NFC Championship games, back-to-back Super Bowls. It's a hard road. And I think the Lions are a team that will figure it out. And so that's going to be our biggest challenge. I was going to say Green Bay is going to be in that mix, but Green Bay took a step back. So really it's Lions, Eagles. And I think that's the big competition for us. But
let me ask you this about the Eagles though, because that linebacking core didn't look that impressive on Friday night. And like I said,
it did not.
How Kyle Shanahan likes to attack those. I mean, their defense. I mean, Saquon, out of worldly, you know, player, 3 touchdowns. You know, speaks for itself, right? He makes that offense. But the issue with them was never the offense. It was their side of the
defense. Yes.
Right. And Packers should have actually won that game. And, you know, they missed opportunies, missed lots of drops, lots of, you know, incompletions from Jordan Love throwing off platform. I don't know why he's trying to go Patrick Mahomes. He's just done. And same with like kind of what Brock was doing. He's just checked it down and taking the easy completions. I don't know why they're trying to force the ball. But I don't think Philly's. I again like we talked about last year. You know, when you were talking about, you know, I said I don't believe in Philly. I told you that last year heading into that postseason this last season. I still don't believe in Philly. I don't believe Philly is going to. I believe Dallas. I believe Dallas is the most complete team in that division. I think Dallas is going to win that division.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was saying, I think that's like your competition, right? Lions, Eagles, Dallas, right? Like that's going to be kind of the three most competitive teams. Maybe you throw Green Bay into that mix, but I think it's going to be a repeat of last year's NFC Championship game. It's us versus Lions. Hopefully, this time we don't get into a big deficit and have to come back.
That was a great game I've run into in my
But
life.
I
You can't,
think
you can't, you can't take that away from me. That was the best comeback I've ever seen
that was a
ever.
great game. That was a
Yeah,
great game. That was a great game ever. That was amazing. That was
yeah,
amazing. But we can't do that again.
yeah.
That was like a heart attack and waiting to happen for a lot of fans. So, um,
Yeah.
so I do think, man, I think I'm still gonna stick with Lions here.
Okay.
I don't know, man. There's just something off about BA here. Um, I think that's gonna come bite us little bit later in the year. I think we're
Okay.
gonna see some either a BA injury or BA is gonna be not as productive as before, and I think that's gonna help make us stay back in the playoffs because we don't have that same kind of firepower.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
That's
actually
what I'm thinking. I think that objectively speaking, my heart says
exactly
we're
right, right,
winning the
right.
whole damn thing. Let's go.
No, I would say logic will stand to reason with your side. That you're probably correct. Based on odds, based on history. I've said, but I did see a stat today that basically said all Super Bowl losers have actually made the playoffs next season, and we're definitely going to be in that mix, right? That's not that Monday slipped by that. I don't think there's going to be a hangover. I was on record to basically pick the Niners right after Vegas in the hotel room. You guys should check that little short on YouTube. Back in February, I was in my hotel room. I said, "Yeah, Niners are going to win. Going to go back, run it back." I'm going to stick with my pick. I got the Niners going
All
back
right.
to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and I got them winning it. And finally ending the 30-year drought in Quest for Six is over.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm a reverse jinx, and I'm gonna jinx the Lions here. I'm gonna pick the
Yeah, there
Lions.
we go. Love it. Let me get your final season's record prediction. What is the last Niners final season record prediction, and what seed do they finish, and how do you see that shaping out?
I got them going 11-6. I think 11-6. Yeah,
I got them.
I think they still finished. I think they finished 1 or 2 in the NFC, anyways.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher. I got to finish 13 and 14 like the last couple seasons, and 12 wins last year. The year before 13 wins. I got them winning. I don't know why. I maybe I'm just blind homerism, but I think they're going to win 14 games this year, and I think they're going to lock in that one seed. Yeah, I really do. I really think what I saw from week 1, at least from Buffalo, Green Bay, obviously with Jordan Love being injured, those were the kind of and the Miami too against Jacksonville didn't really impress me. That 3-game road stretch that we have to go into December, those games alarm me the most. And what I saw from week 1 was that all those teams can be had, and they can be at home. So, I mean, I really like the fact that the Niners are going to, basically go there or go on the road and basically play these teams in December. Granted, we stay healthy, right? I mean, you and I are predicting this without seeing the injury reports and seeing whatever else transpires. Fingers crossed, nothing else that we get lucky like line strikes. But I got Niners win 14 wins. I got them making it, locking the 1 seed, taking my pick. I think Peter Schrager is going to be wrong for the first time in 5 years. He has the Chiefs over the Packers. I don't think Packers are making it, so he's half wrong already. He had Chiefs over Niners last year, and I don't think Lightning's going to strike for the 5th time in a row. I think Peter Schrager is going to be wrong. If we play the Chiefs, I think we'll somehow find a way to beat them. If we play a different team, I think we're going to win from that end too. So that's my final prediction.
I'm picking the Texans out of the AFC. Let's go Texans.
Yeah, I like the Texans too. I mean, they didn't look that good against Indy. It was kind of back and forth, a little chippy with but I think again, rust first game, and with the acquisitions, with Azeez Al-Shaair, with all the obviously what's this guy Daniel Hunter, right, on defense side of the ball. D'Amico Ryans, or I was talking about with Cortez yesterday, which you're well aware of, any Niners fans aware of. The reason why Steve Wilkes got fired, 2022 season, Niners were top 5 in defensive category. 2021, Niners top 5 defensive category. Last year, they dropped down, was it top 20, top 15? Yeah, I mean, D'Amico Ryans did a huge drop off, and the wide 9 wasn't working. Steve Wilkes just didn't work. I mean, Steve Wilkes did develop Mooney Ward. We'll give him credit for what he did with the secondary, but everything else from pass rush, linebacking core, run stoppage, pass, getting after the QB, it was just a completely abysmal season last year. Yeah, thumbs down. So that's why I really like what not Detroit, but what Houston has done. And yeah, man, I mean, a lot of season to be left to be played, but this is the early season prediction. So anything else to close out before we end today?
No, man, let's go Niners. I hope my reverse jinx works here, and then we get us, and your pick is right, and we get to the Super Bowl.
Let's get it, baby. Niner gang. We will see y'all hopefully next week. Let's go Niners.